This is the beginning point, and then obviously we count. We don't, when we count around the circle, around these points that we've marked, we don't count the one that we're starting from. That's just the beginning point. So we count 1, 2, 3. That's what you need to do. Miss 2 and go to the third one. And then draw a line. Now don't do it strong, do it faintly, and we're going to go over most of the lines in a bit. So a line from there down to there. These two intersections here, I'm going to use them to get a small cross above the circle. If you remember from your maths classes, if you aren't trying to block them out from a trauma of some sort, this is what's called a bisector. So I'm using these 2 points to make these 2 marks. So there and there, and we get this cross directly above. Planet Venus actually plots out a 5-pointed star as well. 5-pointed star and an 8-pointed star.
Well, only based on what I read on Wikipedia. And in the introduction to this book, which was something like when they were trying to renovate the front of the cathedral at the end of the 19th century, there was a dispute about how they were going to do it. And this person had a very strong opinion, I think, about following the medieval way of doing it. And the architect who was actually working on it had a very different point of view. So I think the idea behind this book was to try and put forward this person's kind of medievalist.
Okay, that's interesting. In my opinion, like we need to go closer in to. Is this on the face? Because the thing is, what I think happens with a lot of this is that shapes which are within the soul will be looked for and found within nice relationship points, but I don't think they necessarily would give a practical description of the design. Because if that line is there, what does that say about the fact that this wall is here? There has to be a more down-to-earth practical description, as well as seeing those sorts of relationships. Because it is essentially lots of rectangles and squares. But the circle is clearly used to form these shapes, the pentagon and the octagon, and this octagon here.
When I was at Salisbury in, it was September or something, and they were doing this thing where they kind of, the guide was taking off one of the stones and dropping down to see the water level or something, and showing that the water was, really, really close to the floor of the nave.
I've heard this said, it's amazing. And isn't it like the water needs to be there for the whole thing?
Yeah, I think so. Something like that.
There's did you see when they had the fountain with it's sort of like it was a basin with 4 spouts at the 4 directions, and so it made the 4th face of the moon is of course hidden. The new moon is when the moon disappears for around 3 days with its death and resurrection, as it were. It's quite a common theme, the descent to death and resurrection over the course of a 3-day period. Of course, in Christianity it's very clearly there, but also with the story of Inanna, Ishtar, who goes down into the underworld and is dead for 3 days and 3 nights, and then resurrects